What are some luxury items that you never knew existed? I've dated a few girls from rich families, and to be clear, when I say rich, I'm talking one of them belongs to a family that owns multiple sports teams. Another one belongs to a family that has a very well-known business using their family name. Point being, I discovered a few things that I find really weird about being rich. Number one, a personal concierge. I'm talking about you calling up your bank and asking them to help you with something. Just about anything, and they do it ASAP. One family I knew had a literal group of people, each one assigned to a different family member who was at their beck and call 24/7. As an ex-broker phone called a special number from my phone and asked them to buy a replacement phone and sent it to her house. It was there before we got back, just waiting in the foyer for her to use. It was already set up and everything. Again, this was by calling the family's bank. Number two, retainers. And I don't mean the brace-like things for teeth. I'm talking about paying people just to have them on standby for when you need them. I thought that was only a thing in movies, but no. It turns out that is very real, and it's freaking bizarre how many people will commit to that sort of agreement if you ask and have the means to fund such an endeavor. Number three, some more things you'd expect. Lawyers, chefs, maids or butlers, security, and so on. Then there was some odd stuff, like a doctor, just some guy they'd pay per month in case someone got sick or hurt, and would literally drop everything else if they came calling. Personal trainers, an image consultant, an exotic animal wrangler, escorts, a freaking machinist that specialized as a watchmaker. The list goes on, and they were all paid just so they could be available at the whims of a rich person. Number four, specialized insurance. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of getting their body parts insured by Lloyd's of London or whatever. Art insurance exists too, which is probably pretty common knowledge. However, some companies have policies that provide insurance. An ex-girlfriend of mine was insured for $5 million in the event that she went missing. Number five, an outside room. What I meant by that is a room inside the house that is meant to mimic what it's like to be outside. One of my ex's fathers had a huge room that was designed to be exactly like a specific part of Singapore, a favorite place of his to vacation in. It had its own HVAC system, sun lamps, plant life, the whole thing. I sat in there literally one time when he wanted to have a private conversation with me, and it was so unsettling because I've been to Singapore. It was damn near identical, just without the other people. So you built a room inside so that you could mimic it to be outside? Story 2. Private summer clubs. There are these clubs in rural areas of the country where there's a limited membership. Each family owns their own cabin, which can be anything from a true log cabin to a 5,000 square foot multi-story modern home. They have a golf course, tennis courts, a shooting range, private lakes and streams in which to fish, areas in which to hunt, and a playground for the kids. There's a staff that cleans and opens your home before you arrive and cleans and closes your home after you leave. The staff does all the repairs and maintenance you might need. There's a dining room with a chef where everyone takes their meals. It can either be restaurant-like where you can order what you want or more of a communal dining experience where everyone eats the meal the chef has planned. Days are filled with golf, tennis, fishing, or swimming. Evenings are filled with cocktail parties, dinner, and campfire afterwards. There are several organized events during the summer, such as scavenger hunts, sports tournaments, dances, etc. As I said, members own their homes, but not the land. The land belongs to the club. The club is run by a board of directors made up of members. You have to be voted in. One person votes against you and you don't get in. You pay several $1,000s to join. The cost of the home you buy, number of homes is limited. Yearly dues, all services rendered on your behalf, opening the cabin, closing the cabin, repairs, putting flowers in your flower boxes, etc. Meals, babysitting, having your dog put out in the lake in the summer and removed in the winter, having staff take you to and from the nearest airport and paying for golf, tennis, etc. In essence, it's a fee every time you do anything. Sometimes you pay for not doing something. If you choose not to eat in the dining room, you still pay for the meals if you had. The people who belong to these clubs often have the wife and kids go there for the summer, with a working husband only showing up for a week or two. There's a babysitting staff to care for your children so you don't have to. I knew of one instance where a new member of one of these clubs built a new home. It was a 2-story with a basement, 5,000 square foot home with 8 bedrooms and 6 baths. In spite of warnings, he built it too close to the lake. He had to pay a few $100,000 to have it moved back from the lake about 6 feet. So basically, it's like a fancy summer camp for rich people. Story 3. My parents once got invited on a very lavish business trip through my mom's work. I don't remember where exactly. I think Cabo. Anyway, anytime you started to walk out of the pool, an employee would literally run out knee-deep into the water with his arms outstretched, holding a towel. There was someone standing outside their hotel room door at all times in case they needed anything. They hung out with Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell a few times at the swim-up bar. I deliver flowers as a side hustle on holidays. The people in $1 to $5 million homes are complete jerks. Once you start cracking the $6 million threshold, people get way more chill. I'm completely unexpected as the flowers are typically ordered as a gift, and I drive my personal vehicle, a 1990s model SUV. I pull up to $2 million homes, start walking into the foyer with a $400, 50-pound, 100 rows arrangement, and they blast over the intercom that they are calling the police. However, as I pull up to the gate at the bottom of the mile-long driveway to the $10 million home on top of a mountain, I push the button and before I even say who I am, I get, "Hi, come on up," buzz. A minute and a half later, I'm in their compound, and they walk over from the infinity pool and a cliff with a, "How can we help you?" "Oh, flowers, how pretty. Can we get you a bottle of water or anything?" "Okay, well at least let me get you a tip, how nice." Meanwhile, I'm just floored at the view. My favorite part is when the person orders flowers for someone else and doesn't include the gate code. When it's a community of $1 to $3 million homes, people in their Teslas and 350 Super Duties will absolutely not stop to talk to me when I'm parked at the gate waving at them with a clipboard in my hand. They then typically pull through the gate just far enough to stop while the gate closes so I can't follow them in. At the stupid rich communities, when they don't have a manned gate, I'll hold my clipboard up and do a meek little wave. And the car with the logo I don't even recognize will roll a window down just enough to do a follow me hand gesture, while they quite literally whip into the neighborhood. Story 4. I worked in a Sultan's jet once. The royal bedroom had mother-of-pearl light fixtures with fiber optic lighting, silk Venetian blinds, and white leather wall panels. The shower head was 24K gold. The carpet was also silk. You hit one button and a door would open on the nightstand, and the remote would come out if a compartment in the nightstand, blinds would close, the door to the entertainment center would open, and the TV would come on. This was back in the late 90s. Before I left that job, I did all the wiring for a Saudi Arabian banker who didn't want to wait for the escalator truck to let him off the plane. I installed the wiring for a fold-out escalator from the cargo bay to get him off the plane. The plane also had a disco room. It was a 777 with 2 engines and they were enormous. I swear you could park a 4-door dually truck on the intake of that engine. Sometimes I miss that job. It was fun while it lasted. One of the inventors in the previous company I also used to work at was a billionaire. I didn't spend too much time with him, but he was always around during company parties and such, as were most of our early investors. The most whoa moment was when he talked about his house in Telluride, Colorado. Nope, he's not a skier. Nope, he's not someone who likes the mountains. No, it's not real estate that he hopes will make him money. He bought it because he liked the idea of having a mountain or ski retreat available to him at any time. He's owned it for 10 years, and aside from visiting it when he first bought it, he's never stepped foot in it. This guy was too much of a big shot to rent a vacation house. He only wanted to stay in ones he owned, even if he never visited them. His kids use it though for winter sports, so it's not completely empty all year. Story 5. A very good friend of mine ended up engaged to the son of a prince. This guy, the son, had a $10 million a year allowance broken down into daily deposits, about $27,000 a day, and he could check the balance with his phone. That was his motto: do anything you want with money. He didn't work or do anything else. The guy had friends who lived the same kind of lifestyle, super rich with allowance and no ties. She meets all the friends, like 5 to 6, and these people seriously just do things like, "Where's the boat?" There is a yacht that cycles around the world whether someone is on it or not. They fly to the country where it is close to get on a boat and go out to it and just sort of ride it around the world until bored and then go someplace else. There was also a scary 20-something-year-old Russian kid who would hang out with these guys in certain countries like Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Thailand, and Russia. It wasn't in the US or Australia ever. He didn't drink with them or do anything. He was just present. If they wanted anything, from parties to parachuting to a private movie studio, this kid picked up the phone and made it happen. She lived and worked in Chicago at the time, and he'd be like, "Let's go skiing this weekend." She'd say okay, he'd get a flight to the Alps, Italy, or Switzerland, and they would get in a private plane, fly to another country, go skiing, and come back. She said she never needed a passport, ever. They're in and out of the US in private planes. They didn't go through customs except in certain rare countries, etc., and the customs were more concerned with the plane and luggage than the people on board. They literally live in a different world than the rest of us, where the rules don't apply. Story 6. While I worked for a mega-rich woman film producer, the mother of one of the wealthiest producers ever, being the desperate idiot I am, I worked for free because I needed the experience. She's the strictest woman I've ever met. I only worked for a month. The fan in her bathroom went off, and she had me go through 20 years of paperwork to find a warranty to see if she could still get a free replacement. The company hadn't existed for 10 years. She also had me calling up airlines to find out what degree their business class seat lay flat because she apparently needed it to be 180, which was crap, but I was just trying to argue it medically. This was in dispute with the Weinsteins because they would not pay for her to fly first class. She paid for next to nothing. Everything was charged to the company account. She was extremely wealthy, living in the most expensive place to live in the UK. I used to have to bring her expensive champagne to bed, and my travel expenses were paid by an arts council. This woman had a maid living in her basement, which had no windows. It was disgusting. For a whole month's work, I earned a total of £50, and that was for one day of work that wasn't covered by the council's funding. Rich people are the worst people you've ever met. They don't pay for stuff. They don't put their money back into the economy. They leverage their wealth to live for free. Story 7. I'm friends with one of the princes from the Middle East, whose families rank among the richest in the world. After being friends with him for over 2 years now, I still get surprised knowing what all things they own and for what reasons. Number 1, he loves animals, especially camels, horses, and deer, so they built a commercial-sized zoo on their farmhouse so that they could have their pets there. He did it so that he doesn't have to go to their respective habitats to see them whenever he wants. Number 2, then there are private jets and yachts, but I guess they're pretty common among the ultra-rare. Number 3, then since a vacation at the beach sounds nice, his family built a high-end hotel on one of the beaches and it beats most of the famous beach destinations around the world. Number 4, they own one of the biggest banks in the Middle East. I don't know why, but I guess owning a bank is a different flex. Those are the luxury ones that I wouldn't mind owning, but there's more that he and his family do. Number 5, paying for 500 people's treatment in the Middle East every day. Number 6, donations of about $200,000 per month to charities. Number 7, financial assistance to any underprivileged person who shows up during our time when Sheikh has opened doors to listen to people, which is pretty much every day. Number 8, funding 100% of the cost of schooling and midday meals in multiple countries in Africa and South Asia. We're all thinking it. Having $1 million sounds so good right now. If you're enjoying this exploration of the luxe and ludicrous, smash the like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Story 8. Office staff. A friend of mine worked as office staff for a woman who came from old money. She had various houses all over the place and had office staff at each location who spent their days doing for her the things you need done when you have tons of cash and nothing to do all day. She, of course, had all the standard household staff as well. This woman would beckon my friend with requests like, "Last month when I was in Rome, I saw a jacket in a window I really liked. Get me the jacket." So my friend would spend days talking to the concierge at the hotel the woman stayed at, the limo driver, and various people trying to figure out what jacket she was talking about. She was usually successful in getting this woman whatever she wanted. This same woman called into her office one day and said, "I just heard that people pay 99 cents to download a song from the internet. That's a lot of money. Who can afford that?" This is the same day the same woman spent $30,000 in a bracelet. My friend had to do all this woman's Christmas shopping and would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars buying various relatives and acquaintances big-ticket items like big-screen TVs. She gave my friend, who hustled working for this woman, a Christmas present too, a set of cheap placemats. I think you mean magical flying placemats. Story 9. So I wired this guy's house to be as future rich as possible. Let me explain. This guy has pressure switches and kick switches for his garbage disposal. He has door jam switches for all closets, the pantry, and the safe room. The jam switch turns on when a door is opened and off when the door is closed, so they don't have to flick a switch. It almost doesn't matter because they have these Bluetooth switches that talk to each other and a computer in the house. Since everyone always had their phones on them, they could walk into a room and it would come on and do the fan and light settings the person wanted without them doing anything. The switch relays with a phone. This is also for the music. So when someone moved about in their wing, the speakers in each room would kick on or off. When the parents got home, their phone relayed with the house so the outdoor lights kicked on and lit up the walk and driveway before they got to their mailbox. It was the same with a detached study and mother-in-law suite. It took me half a year to wire it all up, including all the data wire and mounting the WAPs. The tech guy was cool. He showed me all about data-related stuff. Story 10. I've seen some weird stuff. I went to a private boarding school in Switzerland with kids of the rich and famous from all over the world. Not such a big thing, but one of them had his dad's credit card, which he would use to order chocolate from Germany to get mailed to him directly at the school. This is 91 to 92, mind you. In this particular school, we had a 3-day weekend every semester, where we were required to go on a camping trip. During the fall and summer semesters, we did that with 2 to 3 other kids and had a blast. One of the groups of kids took a train to Geneva, flew to London, and then took the Concorde to NYC for the weekend. I think the biggest example asked for is something that still goes on today. Some of the Gulf State kids would drink champagne with a rhinoceros horn on it. There's so many stories, but they're tears. Yeah, you can maybe buy some Hermes stuff, but Manny Koshbin has at least 2 several million-dollar cars that are trimmed by Hermes. Carlos Slim rented an apartment in the World cruise ship for his family members to follow behind in his private yacht. Imagine living in Switzerland and ordering chocolate from Germany? That's crazy, dog. Story 11. I used to work on yachts when I was young, free, and single. Some of the extravagant displays of wealth were simply appalling and frankly repugnant, but there was one that caught my eye and I still think about it decades later. There's a Middle Eastern oil sheikh that visits a Seville Row tailor for all his clothing needs. Shirts, suits, formal, informal, smoking, dinner, you name it, even down to his undergarments. That's not extravagant, this is. He buys 4 sets of every single item. He then has each wardrobe sent to one of his usual homes, his primary home, his villa in the south of France, his house in London, and his rather large Gin Palace motor yacht. Also that he doesn't have to worry about his luggage. He knows exactly what clothes he has when he arrives on the other end. No packing, no lost luggage worries, no crumpled shirts, no worries. I sometimes can't stop thinking about how clever and liberating this must be, and yet how decadent this is, both at the same time. Maybe it's just all of these, I don't know. But I'm impressed and horrified in equal measure. Story 12. Food service. When I was young, my first serious girlfriend's family was super rich. Hundreds of millions rich. They had what I would learn was food service. This consisted of a woman who would show up in the morning at maybe 5:30 and stock the fridge and make sure the coffee was on the timer and there were fresh pastries. At 7:30, the actual food service people would arrive with fresh food for the day and prep anything you wanted. If you wanted something special for dinner, say lobster thermidor, you just told them by 3 and it would be ready whenever you wanted. This includes any snack you might want. Did you like the cheeseburger and want a few for later? Done. Every day the fridge would be stocked and cleaned out. It was amazing. An excellent use of disposable income, in my humble opinion. Literally, when you're rich, you don't have to stress about stuff like this. Story 13. The wealthy version of a public storage unit. An exceptionally wealthy family I know refers to a wing of the local art museum as their public storage unit. They funded the wing to store their huge collection of classic and modern art since it was more practical than private storage. It included a climate-controlled, 24/7 secure location managed by professionals, plus the curators would handle the swapping of pieces between the museum and the home when they needed a different style or era to fit the mood of the next dinner or event at the house. Which was funny because sometimes the swaps would introduce a dozen or so pieces not before displayed at the museum, essentially creating a new exhibit that the museum would package and promote. Behind the fuss, the family just wanted to create the right ambience for Grandma's 80th birthday party. Story 14. I used to work for an engineering firm and we did the engineering. HVAC, plumbing, electrical, fire protection for high-end residential properties in New York City. There was a client who owned a floor in an apartment building in Central Park West. People below him moved out, so he bought that floor to host parties. He had a 6-inch thick sound and vibration dampening system installed in that level so he wouldn't bother the people that lived below. The building was old and the existing elevator would not stop the additional 6-inch higher on that floor only, so he installed a new elevator in the building. He also paid for French plasterers to come and live in New York City while they did the ornate plastic crown molding in the apartment. Well, I guess I have to go out and treat myself tonight for dinner. I can't bust down my instant ramen now. If you're up for more unbelievable ultra-rich moments, check out Poor People Who Dated Someone Rich. What did you learn? Next. Story 1 is on a whole nother level. See you there.